7 husbands married her, and 7 died before touching her, all on their wedding night itself. Not accidents or illness, but something that killed them the instant they entered her dark bedroom. By the 7th wedding, they dug the grave before the ceremony, knowing what would happen next. His name is Asmodeus, and once he claims you, no one else will ever have you again in your life. Her name was Sarah, living in ancient times when marriage was supposed to bring joy and safety. The first husband died on their wedding night. Everyone thought it was just tragic bad luck then. The second husband died the same way, and people started whispering about curses following her. By the third dead husband, no one in town wanted anything to do with Sarah or her family anymore. The 4th, 5th, 6th husbands knew the risk, but married her anyway, and they all died soon. Here's the disturbing part. No blood, no struggle, no screams. They just never, ever came out alive. The ancient text doesn't explain how they died, and that silence makes it even more terrifying. Sarah carried 7 deaths and 7 graves, while her community blamed her for all of it completely. She was surrounded by people whispering that she was cursed, that death followed her everywhere. But Sarah wasn't the killer. She was prisoner to something far older and more jealous than hate. So what exactly is Asmodeus, and why does he do this to people who just want to love each other normally? Most demons destroy from anger or chaos, but Asmodeus destroys because he absolutely cannot let go ever. Obsession defines him completely. Once his focus lands, he circles and waits and tightens his grip. He doesn't rage like other demons. Instead, he lingers in background, watching and poisoning slowly. His power lies in infiltrating sacred spaces of human connection, turning love into pure possession. Where some demons tear through with violence, Asmodeus prefers a much slower and crueler pathway. A glance becomes longing. Longing turns to control, and affection slowly starts suffocating everything. Jealousy blooms without warning. Trust gives way to suspicion. Bonds buckle under invisible pressure. He steps into quiet spaces between 2 people and pulls them apart from inside without them knowing. Now here's where the story turns. Someone actually managed to break Asmodeus' hold on Sarah finally. A young man named Tobias traveled with a stranger who revealed himself as Archangel Raphael later. Raphael gave Tobias instructions. Burn the heart and liver of a fish beside the marriage bed tonight. Tobias followed the ritual exactly, and when smoke filled the room, something in air began to shift. Asmodeus' presence, invisible and suffocating for years, suddenly broke apart like shattered glass. He retreated, forced away from what he'd claimed for so long, and Sarah was finally free from him. But the text never says Asmodeus died. It says he fled to Egypt and was bound there, still waiting. The version in that story is terrifying, but his origins reach back even further than Sarah's time. In ancient Persia, thousands of years ago, there was a spirit called Aeshma Daeva in Zoroastrianism. Aeshma was the spirit of fury, madness, uncontrolled violence that shattered order and destroyed peace. He distorted minds, tore through families, obliterated anything meant to bring harmony, prayer, ritual. Aeshma didn't persuade anyone. He simply overwhelmed them with pure rage and destructive, brutal force. But as civilizations collided and religions shifted, Aeshma didn't vanish. He evolved and changed shape. His name passed through languages. Aeshma became Ashai, then Asodi, finally Asmodeus over centuries. Each transformation narrowed his form, made violent energy more precise, more directed, more intentional. The raw force of Aeshma sharpened into something worse. Focused obsession and possessive control now. By the time Asmodeus appears in later texts, he no longer lashes out blindly at everything around him. Instead, he waits patiently, watches carefully, targets specific people at their most vulnerable moments. Now let's talk about when someone captured him and forced him to reveal exactly what he really does. According to Testament of Solomon, King Solomon received a magical ring engraved with divine authority. With that ring, Solomon commanded spirits, binding them one by one to reveal their names and powers. When Asmodeus was summoned, he arrived unwilling, restrained by force older and higher than his own. Solomon questioned him directly, and Asmodeus described his purpose without any hesitation or shame. He spreads jealousy between lovers, stirs conflict, drives wedges into the softest, vulnerable parts. He admitted to haunting marriage beds, watching where union should begin, ensuring that it fails always. There was no pleasure in his confession, just cold clarity and certainty about what he was made to do.
This is not about pleasure.
Solomon assigned fitting punishment. The demon who destroys bonds was now ordered to build instead. Asmodeus was forced into labor constructing Solomon's temple, carrying stones to honor divine order. But submission didn't soften him. He insulted Solomon, mocked humans, warned of chaos if he's freed. And when the ring's protection faded, Asmodeus escaped, proving he could never truly be tamed ever. By medieval grimoires, Asmodeus had fully ascended to become an actual king of hell itself, completely. In the Ars Goetia, he commands 72 legions with structured authority wrapped in absolute horror. Summoning him requires absolute ritual precision and unwavering control, or consequences turn irreversible. He appears with 3 heads, a man, a ram, a bull, each reflecting lust, pride, and brutal strength. A serpent coils at his tail's end, flames pour from his mouth, and he rides a dragon between realms. He offers forbidden knowledge, reveals hidden treasures, and grants influence over dark pleasures. But hesitation invites disaster. Many summoners vanished or got everything they wanted too late. His weapon isn't force or violence, it's erosion. He sharpens ambition until it fractures from inside. So, that's history. But here's the personal part, because Asmodeus never actually left us behind, ever. In modern times, he no longer needs ancient names, rituals, circles, or grimoires to manifest power. He doesn't haunt bedrooms anymore. He thrives in the everyday collapse of restraint and self-control. Contemporary demonology still links him to lust, but those urges now stretch far beyond the physical. He becomes the symbol for any addiction, from compulsive behaviors to toxic relationships poisoning life. When a need becomes so consuming, it erases judgment. When love turns manipulative, that's him working. When ambition corrodes what it built, when desire mutates into self-destruction, Asmodeus lingers beneath. He's present in every collapse of self-control, every relationship twisted by possessiveness and jealousy. He endures not as ancient terror memory, but as reflection of the parts of us we refuse to face honestly. So here's the truth. Asmodeus doesn't scream or knock or announce himself with dramatic grand entrances. He waits quietly until you leave the door open. Then he slips inside without you even noticing it. He gets into your thoughts, twists love into possession, lust into addiction, trust into suspicion now. He doesn't need summoning with rituals anymore. Just an invitation through your own personal weakness. Once inside, he doesn't destroy at once. Instead, he lets it decay slowly from the inside out completely. He lets everything rot quietly and completely, spreading through your life like poison you can't stop. And by the time you notice something's wrong, by the time you realize what happened to you inside, he's already become part of you, inseparable from your thoughts, desires, and who you've become now. Because that's how Asmodeus wins. Not through force, but by making you forget you had a choice at all.